Hey, I'm Rob McLam. This is JMC 602 talking video podcast with adverbs and the 70-word sentence, which I thought was funny. Reminded me of a Spanish class, learning Spanish, people, long drawn out sentences and stuff. Um, I think adverbs, there's a duality to it. Adverbs, when effective, they're adding details, they're adding perhaps an impact or an emphasis on the um, writing, but there can also be issues with redundancy. There can also be issues with making writing when it's more expansive and it's not as concise. It can then become garbled. An example of an adverb that I think is just totally useless is very. Although to be honest, I say it in speaking. It's hard to quit it in terms of verbal. But if you're writing, something is strong or something is very strong. It's the same thing. So, you know, it's almost like if you're using very, it's almost like you're trying to beat a word count or something. And I don't see the value in that. So you have to be careful with adverbs, and I'm not sure that was really maybe emphasized enough. You want to make sure there isn't redundancy. Speedily, he sped up, and ran quickly. Well, or maybe say ran quicker. You want to just make sure you're not using adverbs to a point where it drowns out the main gist of the message. The analogy I use, and I'm a big dude, I like to eat, so the analogy I use is a Subway sandwich. When I go to Subway, I buy a chicken sandwich. I don't get a lot of toppings on it because I want to taste the meat. I want to taste the flavor of the meat. But if you drown it with 15, pretty soon what you came for, the chicken sandwich, is buried underneath a lot of garble. So that's kind of the analogy I use with adverbs. You got to make sure that they don't drown out the verbs or drown out the adjectives or the noun. And I didn't know a lot about adverbs until I got into college. You think, well, adverb, that's a compound sentence, a compound word that it's easy, but I didn't know a lot about it. I didn't think about it until I got to college, and it's really my approach on it. I want to say it's 180, but it's really not 180. Before I used them without thinking. Now I'm conscious about it, or I try to be conscious about it in terms of making sure that those words all have value and have maximum value and don't suck the value out of the other words in the story. It's sort of like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. You want all the pieces to fit. You don't want there to be 2 or 3 pieces missing, or you're not, square pegging a round hole. And that's how your writing should be as well. When we looked at Dr. Denny Wilkins, I think the thing that stuck out to me, was interesting. He really, I wouldn't call him aloof, but he was sort of, I don't say distant either. Maybe he was just sort of set in his ways. He was sort of, he has his ideas and he's not interested in deviation. I was fascinated by I wasn't taught, I was coached. I've been a guy who's been a college football coach. I don't really see much difference, but I guess I get what he's saying. And he talked about repetition, and that is something that as a coach we always talk about. Run the reps over and over and over again. Rep it over and over and over again. And it's funny that drills are actually called reps, because it's reps being short of repetition. That gives that word a little more meaning that I had never thought about, hadn't occurred to me before. When you drill it over and over again, you're going to get better at it. I do much better writing now than I did 12, 13 years ago. I had a story, I guess, in 2013 that went viral, and if I pull it up, I'd rewrite it. I'd rewrite the whole thing. I would, it was good enough to go viral and get, however many was million some clicks or whatever it was. for a college newspaper, which was amazing. But I'd rewrite the whole thing, and that's growth and evolve. Is I mean, obviously we all do that, but it's repetition. I've written it over and over and over again, and I see ways I can make it better. Perhaps the innocence of it is what appealed and made it go viral then too. I'm not sure, but I definitely would recommend adverb, but don't lean on the adverb. I would recommend repetition, as Dr. Wilkins said, and try to make sure all your words have maximum value without sapping the value out of what else is being said. Don't let them take the taste away. Yeah, don't let the lettuce and the mayonnaise take away the taste of the chicken on that wonderful sub you're trying to create. So, cheers.